Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. Happy Friday. It's just around noon Eastern right now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Just to make sure you're at the right place, we are going to be in for the next 45 minutes talking about secure file sharing for today's law firms, and we're going to focus specifically how TitanFile can help you there. The format for this afternoon is going to be as follows. We're going to go through a brief intro just to introduce you to myself and to TitanFile. We're going to discuss some benefits of having a secure file sharing solution at your law firm. My favorite part is going to be the top 10 features or product checklist, and this is based on client feedback, so I think this will be a very interesting one for everybody. Next, we'll spend a little bit of time briefly discussing the legal technology toolkit. We'll discuss how to evaluate cloud vendors, some common questions, some things to look forward to, and we're going to give you this information from a vendor's perspective. So what kind of questions do we get asked all the time by our clients? And then about halfway through the session today, we're going to switch into a live demonstration of TitanFile, and you're going to have a chance to see from start to finish how easy TitanFile is to use and a high-level overview. So in total, we're going to spend about 45 minutes together chatting about the content as well as the demo, and then we'll try to leave about 10 to 15 minutes towards the end for Q&A. And the Q&A portion we're going to do through the questions or the chat function in GoToWebinar. So feel free throughout the session to ask questions. If I'm able to, I have a moderator with me. If I'm able to answer them as we go through, I'll do my best. If not, for sure we will read out the questions at the end for everybody's benefit, and we'll answer them so that everybody can have a chance to hear the answers. So that will be the format for today. And without further ado, let's get started. Now, before we jump in and introduce myself, I just wanted to get a better feeling of who's in the audience today. So I'm just going to put a poll up on the screen, and it should be coming up just momentarily here. And basically, the question is, what's your role within your organization? So I want to know if the mix today is more on the IT side, more on the support side, if you're a lawyer or a legal professional, or from a different discipline. That way will help us contextualize the content for today's session. See, we've got 70% votes. I encourage you to participate, and we'll close the vote in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we'll close the vote. Okay, so it looks like we've got about a 60-40 split between IT and support professionals. That's great. Okay. So just so you can put a face to the voice, this is me. My name is Victor Abouassale. I'm the Director of Business Development at TitanFile. I've been working in legal tech for over 5 years now, all with TitanFile. I'm responsible for running the monthly ILTA webinars for our group here, and I'm client-facing. So I work directly with most of our legal clients, work with hundreds of clients all around the world, and I am the product expert at TitanFile. So if you have any questions throughout the session, whether it's TitanFile specific or about the file sharing space, I'll do my best to answer them and share with you my experiences that I've learned over the past 5-6 years. And I always like to say that, you know, if you get nothing out of this webinar, which I'm sure you will, because there's lots of goodies tucked in there. I'm a great lover of sushi and enthusiast. So if you're ever in a city in North America and you're looking for a really good sushi restaurant, feel free to ask for a recommendation, because I have one probably in most major cities around the country. So enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about TitanFile. Just give you a little bit of background info. We turned 7 earlier this January, so we've been around for since 2011. We're headquartered out of Toronto in Canada, and over the past 7 years, we've built around 50 to 60,000 users on our platform. So these are all professional service providers, law firms, accounting firms, all using TitanFile to securely communicate with their clients. And specifically in the legal space, you may have run into us at one of the popular conferences in the legal technology space. For the last 5-6 years, we've been attending all the major ones, specifically ILTACon, LegalSec, which usually happens in the Baltimore area around June, and Legal Tech New York, which actually just passed in this past January, February. So some of our happy customers, you see we work with a lot of different law firms and legal service providers globally. These ones here that you're seeing are in Europe, North America. And we tend to work with clients of all sizes. So everything from solo practitioners, small firms, all the way up to the international firms with 10 to 20 offices and thousands of users. So the solution is definitely built in a scalable fashion to support all sizes and meet all the needs of the various sizes of firms. So just to position where TitanFile fits within the legal toolkit, so I like to put it in this way. So when do you use TitanFile? So anything that you cannot send outside of the firm or receive from outside of the firm by email due to either or both a security or compliance requirement or file size restrictions. So anytime where you would traditionally use email, but you can't because either the file is too big or the file is too sensitive and there's security requirements or privacy requirements, that's when you would use a secure file sharing solution. And that's really where TitanFile fits in. So just to help put things into context, that's really what we're going to be focusing on, is when you can't use email to send that correspondence to a client, to opposing counsel, to a third party, because of those restrictions, functionality from a size perspective or security and privacy from a sensitivity perspective, that's where TitanFiles really get a fit in. So if we focus a little bit on the benefits now, so we always poll our clients and ask them, you know, what's important to you in a file sharing solution? And we always come back with really 3 things. You know, how does a solution help a law firm? One, it's really built to make you more productive. So being able to do the things that email limits you, and of course, integrating within your existing suite of applications that you use on a regular basis. So, you know, we all know that lawyers and support staff are living in Outlook and email day in and day out. So making sure that we can integrate into email, and of course, providing a way for you to be able to digitally collaborate with clients really, really easily. Something that should be as easy as email, that does not require calling help desk to get it set up, and does not require getting some software installed. Something that's really simple and as easy as email. That's the key part about productivity. The next one is earning client trust. And in this one, I really position it in such a way that if you've ever dealt with a big enterprise, if you've ever done business for a bank, you probably noticed that more and more times you're being asked about security audits. You know, where is the data being stored? What kind of encryption are you using when you're communicating with us? And we go through this all the time. We get these security audits, and the only thing that can really earn trust is to make sure that you're using industry standard or above industry standard solutions in today's world to conduct business. And so protecting the client's privacy and their information is extremely important, and that's how you earn trust. And last but not least, of course, this is everybody's favorite. We want to make sure that we can save time, and we can save money. So things in terms of from the administration perspective, you know, reducing the number of calls to help desk, reducing costs around sending couriers and burning CDs and DVDs. There's a lot of lost time on administrative tasks there that are no longer necessary. And so if there's a way that we can improve and reduce these administrative tasks, then that's going to save everybody a lot of time and a lot of money to work on the things that are actually of importance. So I want to throw another poll towards the group here and just get a feeling for how everybody is sending large files today at their firm. So I'm going to launch the poll here in just a sec. It's on the screen. You can select multiple multiple choices. Encourage you to jump in and vote, just so that we can get a poll and cross section of how the group is split today on the webinar. You could be using Dropbox accounts, FTP sites. You may have an enterprise file sharing tool in there. Maybe using Courier when required for DVDs and USBs, and maybe using email. It's not uncommon to chop up a very large PDF documents into multiple pieces and send them as, one of 2 emails, 1 of 3 emails, and so on. So we've got about a third of the group today that has voted. We'll give you about 5 more seconds. If we can get up to 60%, 70%, that will give us a good cross-section. So for those that haven't voted, I encourage you to participate with us here so we can share those results with everybody. And we're getting there. So we'll close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last chance. Okay, we've got a shy group here today. We've got about half the folks that have voted. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and let's share the results. So again, this is a cross-section of the group. Of course, people were able to multi-select, so we've got a handful of folks on the Dropbox side. Some folks have an enterprise file sharing tool, and others are using DVDs, USBs, and some are using email. Not abnormal. This is a good group, good mix of results. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind as we go through. So let's look at the top 10 features. A product checklist. If I'm going out to market today, what are the things that I want in my file sharing solution to make sure I'm getting the best of breed service that's out there? And these are in no particular order, so not in any kind of, first one is the most important. There are 10 features that our clients constantly tell us, these are the reasons why we believe we chose TitanFile for the file sharing solution. So here we are. Number 1 on the top 10 list, easy to use. This is a no-brainer, but it's often missed. So what does easy to use mean? So easy to use, we refer to things being as easy as sending an email. So the common misconception is that if I have a large file, or if I have a file that needs to go out securely, shouldn't it be as easy as sending an email? So today, when a professional at a law firm needs to send something out to a recipient, to a client perhaps, all they need to know when they're sending an email is the email address. There is no special procedure. There is no IT involvement. I just need to know the email address of my recipient. And we believe that it should be that easy from sending a large file or sending a secure file as just knowing the email address of the recipient, not having to involve anybody other than the end user. Next, being web browser agnostic. So it doesn't matter if you use Chrome, Safari, the new Microsoft Edge web browser, Firefox, or Internet Explorer. Any of those web browsers should be able to work on the solution that you use. Another important one is ensuring that there's nothing to install or nothing to download. And you may be able to control the download and installation piece on your side of the fence, so setting things up for employees. But if you're forcing your recipients, whether it be a client or another firm, to have to download and install things, you're going to get a lot of friction and a lot of pushback. The other thing too now is we know mobile ready. Everybody's working on their Microsoft Surface tablets, on their iPads, getting things on the go. So very important to make sure things are mobile ready. And the last one for the IT folks in the room today, no Java. So you may have noticed that in some solutions out there, there's a Java plugin that's required in order to be able to upload folders or large amounts of data. But this is a major security risk, and you're going to get a lot of pushback from large enterprises that you work with when using anything that has Java in it. So make sure whatever you're using does not require Java. All right, number 2. Of course, if we're looking at a large file transfer solution, let's make sure it can send really, really large files. So get something that does not limit you. It's not something that has a 1 gig limit or a 2 gig limit. It should be unlimited, allow you to store as much as you need, and of course, handle any file type, whether it's video depositions, audio files, images, Microsoft Office documents. Any file should be able to go through your file sharing solution. Next, performance. This one is often missed, and I'm really surprised by it, because when looking at a large file solution, you know, if we're sending 10, 20 megabyte files, you probably don't care. But for those that are, you know, in litigation support that often have to send those productions that could be in the gigabytes, you know, 4 or 5 gigabytes or even maybe bigger. If you have a system that's not optimized for sending large files, it's going to take forever to upload that file over the network. So in your evaluations, do some benchmark testing and see how the system behaves when you're doing the free trials, and make sure that it's really optimized for large file transfer. On the TitanFile platform, you can upload gigabytes in a matter of minutes. So things that used to have to, you know, if you've ever used one of those old FTP sites where you set it up and you leave it overnight and you come back the next day and it's still going, that's no longer required. You should be able to upload really, really big files in a matter of minutes. We talked about email integration. So number 4 on the top 10 list is an Outlook add-in. Now, for your power users, the web application is going to be primarily used because it's got lots of capabilities in there. But addressing those needs of the folks that are, you know, one-time users, you know, once every 3 or 4 months, that attorney needs to send something that can't go through email because of your 25 megabyte attachment limit. There needs to be an easy way that's just one click in Outlook that lets them send that file and not have to worry about it, not have to call IT help desk. So having a secure send add-in for those occasional users to send the odd file really helps with adoption within the firm. Number 5 on the top 10 list, security. So of course, nowadays, security is top of mind for all IT directors, all CIOs, all managing partners. So whatever platform you choose, make sure it's using at least industry standards. And so make sure you have end-to-end encryption, using 256-bit encryption both in transit and at rest. And make sure you're using certified data centers. So there's protection on the data center side if you're in the cloud. And one thing that's unique about TitanFile is that we have yet another level of protection that we can offer, where you get to own the encryption keys using our Hitachi Crayon key management plugin into the TitanFile platform. So this gives you yet another level of protection that's not available to you in any other system. So pay attention to the security components and the different types of encryption available, and see what your needs are and try to match those up. Number 6, of course, authentication. So authentication, you know, the traditional way of logging in today is using an email, your email and a custom password for the application to log in. But if you're rolling something out enterprise-wide and you're looking for a solution that's going to cover you and all the needs of every person in the firm, you're probably going to want to hook that up into your Active Directory and have single sign-on. And single sign-on just basically means you can use your corporate credentials, you know, the credentials that you use to log into your computer at work, to be able to authenticate into TitanFile. So you don't have to remember yet another password. You can just use those corporate credentials to log in. And of course, we also have a G Suite authentication. So if you are using Google Apps, you can log in through Google Apps as well. One thing I may have missed there is the two-factor authentication. If you do have two-factor rolled out on a lot of your other applications within the firm, TitanFile can definitely support the two-factor authentication as well. All right, number 7 on the top 10 list, data residency and retention. This is huge. So, you know, we have a lot of clients in the US and we have a lot of clients in Canada as well as in Europe, and each client has different jurisdiction or data retention and residency requirements. So for our clients in Canada, they demand that the data remains in Canadian servers. Similarly for the US, and similarly for folks in the EU, they want information to remain in Europe. So make sure that you have the option to choose and verify where the data is going to be stored if you are using a secure cloud option. And as part of the evaluation, we'll talk about this a little bit later when you're evaluating your cloud vendors. You know, dig into the data centers that they're using. What type of service provider? Is it the Microsoft Azure platform? Is it AWS? You know, in which regions is your data being stored? Having that information gives you some peace of mind. And on the data retention side, we'll touch this on this a little bit later as well, but make sure there's controls that allow you to choose how long your data stays on your file sharing solution. So the last thing you want is yet the file sharing solution to become a data dump, another repository that you have to manage and control. All files should ideally live in the document management system. That should be the primary location where everything lives permanently. And the file sharing solution should be a temporary bridge between your DMS and the client or the outside party. And so having tight controls on how the file sharing solution is being used will give you peace of mind, making sure that stuff doesn't linger forever on a solution outside of your organization. All right, number 8. We're making some good time here. Number 8 on the top 10 product checklist, notifications and history. So I'll show you this in the demo because it's really an easy one. But from a compliance perspective, having a detailed audit log that shows when files are being sent, when they're being accessed, when they're being downloaded is really important. Now, you probably don't have to check these things out on a regular basis, but should there ever be a discrepancy where opposing counsel says, hey, we never got that file, or you had to prove that you filed something before a specific deadline, that's where these logs will really come in handy. And of course, the notifications, email notifications, will give you insights into when things are being downloaded. So anytime you share a file with opposing counsel, when they download it, you're going to get an email receipt saying, hey, this file has been accessed by John Smith at law firm ABC. So being in the know through notifications and history, very, very important in your file sharing platform. Number 9 on the top 10 list, DMS integration. So if you are using a document management system, whether it's the OpenText eDocs, the iManage products, NetDocuments, WorldDocs, whatever the product may be, see if there's a way that you can integrate with those platforms. And the most common way is through the Outlook plugin. So most firms already have Outlook integrated with their document management system. So when you're in Outlook, on that left-hand side of your screen, you would typically have a view into your document management system. So when you're testing that Outlook plugin, see if you can actually attach files like you normally would into your Outlook messages directly from the DMS and still use the plugin. So the moral of the story there is try to find an Outlook plugin that does not interfere with the way that you currently attach files and ruin those existing integrations that you've already built between your DMS and Outlook. And secondly, on the web application, TitanFile currently integrates with the iManage platform. So if you're using the web application with one step through a third-party connector, you can easily pull things in and out of iManage directly into TitanFile. It's a really neat and smooth optimization that's really, really popular today. So if you're using iManage, we should chat about that one. And last but not least, on the top 10 lists, on the product checklists that our clients often come to us, that's important for them, is being able to export stuff out of TitanFile. So whether it's exporting a copy of a message you sent, or a copy of the files, or maybe you need an archive of every folder that was sent related to a specific matter, or you need a record of the conversation that's happened within TitanFile, or that audit log that I talked to you earlier, maybe you want to put that in DMS under the appropriate folder. All these things are exportable out of TitanFile with one simple click. So anything that you can put into TitanFile, you can pull out of TitanFile with a simple click. And I'll touch on that in the demo as well, but it's a really, really powerful feature. All right, legal technology toolkit. So you may laugh at this one a little bit because the slide that I just put up on the screen, believe it or not, is not 2005 law firms. It's, believe it or not, it's still today. So today, we go into some firms and trying to understand a little bit about what their toolkit includes, and we still see this happening where folks are frustrated because using outdated methods of being able to externally correspond with other clients and other firms. So things are cumbersome, they're dispersed, they're slow, and most importantly, they're insecure. So people are still using physical mail, fax machines. I don't remember when the last time I owned a fax machine. We're still using email for sending medical claims and sending financial information for things that should really be protected and only be accessed by the intended recipients. And then the other big problem that I'm sure everybody on the webinar today has experienced in one way, form, or another, and then we often turn a blind eye to it, is users bring their personal accounts into the firm, whether it's Dropbox or otherwise. When they don't find a solution that's easy to use, they need to get around and get their work done. So instead of calling IT and getting help desk to provision an account or get the client set up, they're just going to bypass all that and use what they're used to using at home, which is their personal Dropbox account. And there's all kinds of risks associated when it's not a corporate owned solution. And I'm sure you guys are all aware of those. So this still happens in today's world, not in 2005. And so what we would rather see, and what a lot of firms have done, is they've moved into the new world, as we like to call it. They've made the shift. They've utilized best-in-class industry tools to eliminate all those headaches, be secure, be compliant, find easy ways to collaborate with clients, and make sure that it's easy. Easy for the employees, and most importantly, easy for the clients. When it's easy, everybody's happy, just like the guy at the top and all the folks there on the bottom of the screen. Okay, so let's touch on a little bit, we're right on schedule still here. We're gonna start the demo in about 3 or 4 minutes, so hang tight. Just one last slide I wanna cover here, and it's how to evaluate cloud vendors. So this is coming from experience, us being on the vendor side, questions that are commonly asked from us. And now, you know, different firms will ask different questions. I wanna give you the perspective of when a big firm comes to us. So when we're working with an AmLaw 200 law firm or a big bank, when they come to us and they have dedicated security folks that come and, you know, they open up the engine and they want to look under the hood and really dig in to see, is this vendor capable of delivering the service, and are they up to speed, and do they have all the protection and policies in order from a security perspective? So the 4 things that they typically focus on from our experience as a vendor are the ones you see on the screen right now: infrastructure, application, policies, and people. So let's dissect this real quick between the four items. So first and foremost, infrastructure. So most of our clients tend to deploy TitanFile on a secure cloud using our infrastructure. Now, they always look and see, what infrastructure system are you using? And we use a combination of Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS, depending on the region that you want the application to be deployed. And so things that they care about, once you hear one of those 2 names, is making sure that, you know, the infrastructure provider you're using is ISO certified, it's SSAE 16 certified, there's redundancy, so, you know, you're set up in for disaster recovery perspective. You know, if you have a power outage on the East Coast, are you backing up into the West Coast, and can you come up online in a reasonable time so that the application is going and you have business continuity? So infrastructure is really all based on making sure you're using a reputable service provider for the infrastructure side, and making sure that you've set up your architecture in such a way that you have business continuity and disaster recovery in place in case those things happen. That's all really that there is on the infrastructure side. On the application side, it's twofold. One is, of course, the functionality side, and that's where the top 10 product checklist comes into play. So people come with a shopping list. You know, here are the things that we care about. Here's the things that didn't work in our previous solution that we want to improve, whether it was the system was too cumbersome and we want an easy way for people to be able to share stuff, whether or not there's specific functionality they're looking for is, you know, being able to upload folders without having a Java connector. So the application is really digging into the capabilities of the platform, doing benchmark testing on upload speeds, making sure that we can actually get a 5 GB file out in a few minutes instead of in a few hours. The next one is policies based. So this one is really focused on, you know, when things go wrong, does this company have their ducks in a row to be able to respond in a professional manner? So I'm thinking about things like breach notification policy, change management policy. Nobody ever wants to look at these things, but should these things ever happen, are there formal procedures and policies that the company is going to follow based on industry standards so that they can handle the issue in a timely and professional way? So typically these policies will be given, can be shared with you as a prospective client under NDA. So whenever you're evaluating a cloud vendor, make sure you look under the hood and really begin, make sure that the policies are in order. And there's lots of guides online to what kind of things you should be asking your cloud vendors. So, but policy is an important one. And typically under NDA, if the vendor doesn't have anything to hide, they will share and open up the Komodo so that you can take a close look and get peace of mind that you're partnering with a vendor that's going to take care of you going forward. Last but not least is the people side. So the people that are, I'm not talking about the salespeople that you interact with, but more about the technical team that's behind the scenes doing the work for you. So are those people professionals? Are they certified? Has the company done background checks on the engineers that are servicing your information, the people that are handling your company's secret treasures? Are those people certified? Are they professionals? Do they have experience? Are they clear on the background checks? These are basic things that typically get asked when we go into an evaluation with a very large organization that's a prospective client. So hopefully you can take away some of those things next time you're evaluating a cloud vendor. So without further ado, we're right on schedule here, 12:30. So we're about halfway through. Let's jump into the TitanFile demo. This is the best part of the session. And here I really want to focus on the user experience. Because I think that you can go through the product checklist and make sure that the system has all the security requirements that you need, has all the functional requirements, but most of all, most importantly, you want to be able to make sure that your users and your clients are going to absolutely love the system, and it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. So prepare to be wowed. We're going to switch gears here, and let me just get that set up. Make sure we got the right screen showing. Here we go. Okay, so I've got the web application on the screen right now. So let's just briefly look at the authentication page, and then we'll jump into how to actually use the system. So I'm showing you right now the login page. So as you can see, it's been customized to this law firm. Bowles Rice is a client of ours. You can log in through the traditional way, email address and password. And as you can see here in the link at the bottom where my cursor is, they've hooked this into single sign-on, so their employees are logging in through their corporate credentials. So you can have a customized login page for both your employees as well as your clients. Once you authenticate, you're coming into TitanFile, and this is what the interface looks like. So before we dissect the buttons and the things you're seeing on the screen, I want to take you on a little journey and show you from start to finish what the experience is like as a legal staff professional at your law firm. If I want to share some files with an external party, how do I do that? So I want to show it to you both from the perspective of the legal staff professional as well as the perspective of the recipient. So you're going to get to see it from start to finish. So here's how it goes. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and create a new channel. Think about creating a new channel as if you're composing a new email. There's going to be a lot of parallels with how the TitanFile user experience is with how email behaves. So a new channel is composing a new message. You're going to be prompted with a channel name or a subject line to your email. So let's call this demo for ILTA webinar. Next, you want to add your recipients. So it's important to note here that the person I'm going to add has never seen TitanFile, does not have a TitanFile account, and does not know they're going to receive anything from TitanFile. And this is the part that's really, really important, because what this means is that me as the legal staff member in your firm, I did not have to go to IT and get accounts provisioned for my clients. I don't have to involve anybody. I simply come into TitanFile and I need to know just the email address of my recipients, and I can send files to them securely, regardless of their size, without having to involve anybody. So let's put in the email address of my recipients. And if I want to put their name in, I can. Let's call it John. And hit go. And you'll notice here the little checkbox here adds them to my contact list, so I never have to go through this process again. If I ever want to communicate with John, I can simply drag and drop them from the contact list. So you can see John gets added into my channel. And as I mentioned, if it's somebody that I have communicated with in the past, I can simply go into my contact list, search for that person. There's Emily, and drag and drop Emily. Oops. Looks like let me just get back into the system here. This is, of course, Murphy's Law. When you're doing a demo, something goes awry. Oops. Okay. Bear with me here 1 second. There we go. This should do it. We're in. I'm logged in with the right person. Okay, so if I want to add Emily, drag and drop Emily into the channel. There's Emily right there now. So I've established who I want to communicate with. And you can have as many people in this group as you like, whether it's you're sending it to one person or you're in a class action lawsuit sending it to 2,500 people. There is no limitations to how many people you can engage in this TitanFile channel. So from here, what do I need to do? Okay, so just like an email, when you want to send something, you can attach files and you can include a message. So I'll do that first. So I could say, hi, John and Emily. Here are the files from Friday's call. Please review and get back to me. And now I can go ahead and attach files. Simply hit the attach file button. I can, of course, multi-select files. Doesn't matter what their size is. Doesn't matter what their type is. PDFs, Microsoft Office, audio, video files. Right away they attach. And I can also attach folders. So if I have an entire folder structure that I want to put up there, I can definitely do that too. And I can do it by hitting this attach folder button, or I could just simply drag and drop from my desktop. So you can see here I have the mystery folder for our demo here today. I can simply drag and drop that folder in, and all the data in that folder gets attached. When I hit send, off it goes, and I can look into my files tab here, and you can see there's the mystery folder. And if we open that up, there's all the files that are in the mystery folder. You can see them there. So that's how easy it is from an employee's perspective for the first time to send stuff to somebody that's never seen TitanFile, either a handful of files or an entire folder structure without ever having to involve IT. All I needed to know was the email address of my recipient. It's that easy. Now, what does it look like from the client's perspective? So let's log into the inbox of John, who, as we mentioned, has never seen TitanFile before, and let's see what he sees. Let's go through his workflow. So I have it pre-set up here. This is John's email inbox. It doesn't matter if John's using Gmail, as I have here on the screen, or if he's using Outlook or Hotmail, whatever the email system, it doesn't matter. And you can see there's an email waiting for John right away called Demo for ILTA Webinar. That's the subject line. And recall, that subject line translated from the channel that I created earlier, Demo for ILTA Webinar. Let's go back to his inbox. And we'll open up that email. You'll notice that this email is simply a notification email. It's fully branded, so the firm logo can replace the TitanFile logo in the top right. Your email footer or signature can replace our email footer here at the bottom. And you'll notice there's actually no attachments in this email. It is simply a notification email. So in this notification email, it shows me the names of the files that are being shared, as well as the contents of the message. Hi, John and Emily. Here are the files from Friday's call. Please review. So all I have to do here as a first-time recipient is simply hit the big green button called Access Files. And the system auto-detects that, hey, wait a second, John has never used TitanFile before. He doesn't have an account. So let's go ahead and create an account for him in the background, independent of the law firm. All that he has to do is go through this one simple step of setting up his own password so that he can log into TitanFile and correspond and get the files. So by doing this, essentially, John is getting a guest account on TitanFile that he can use for any future correspondence. So if today, Mike, the lawyer, sends something to John, John goes in and gets the files. If in 3 weeks, a completely different lawyer at your firm or a paralegal or an assistant sends something to John, John does not have to go through this step. He's going to be taken directly into your branded login page, and he'll be able to access the files from there. So let's complete the step real quick. As you saw, it took less than 5 seconds, and you'll verify here in the top right-hand corner, I'm logged in as John, who is the recipient, the client in this case. So getting into the files is super simple. Now, from here, I have a handful of things that I can do. You'll notice that the user interface is very similar to the user interface of the sender. So I can actually go ahead and download all the files that were sent to me with one simple click. Just hit the download all button, and it brings everything down. or I can handpick individual files simply by clicking on them, and that will download them too. So it's that easy for me to get files, but it gets better. Not only can I consume information that's been sent to me by my law firm, I can actually send stuff back. So if there's ever a case where you need to get additional documentation, signed files, any kind of confirmation, they can actually send stuff back to you securely using your file sharing platform. So they can say, thanks, Mike. I have attached the requested signed files. And using the exact same simple steps John can follow, he can click on the file, the financing document, attach it, hit send, and off it goes. It's that simple. Nobody had to call IT, and we just had secure files being sent back and forth through this platform. Now, you'll notice that the one big difference here about how this conversation tab works and the TitanFile channels work is that the sending and receiving really behaves like a conversation. It's not disjointed. It's not like the law firm sends something and the client sends something completely separately that are completely independent and not connected in any way, and you have no idea what's what. Everything related to this one specific matter, in this case, it's the ILTA webinar, everything related to this one conversation is all in one spot. The send and the receive is in one spot. And so as a result, you end up with something like an email thread showing you the collaboration between Mike and John, including the messages and the files. Now, I mentioned earlier in the demo, one of the top 10 features that was always coming up on the checklist is notifications and proof of access. So if we switch back into Mike's account here, you'll notice in the history log, there is a record right here with a date and time stamp at 12:40 on February 23rd. John downloaded that archive by hitting the download all button. And then John clicked on that one specific file, if you recall, where he handpicked the financing document and downloaded it. So there's the records of everything happening. And we track absolutely everything. And of course, this log, along with all the files that are in this channel, along with the entire conversation transcript, everything can be exported through this export menu with one click. I can either export each of those tabs individually, or I can download the entire channel, essentially capturing the entire matter in TitanFile with one click onto my local machine and have it locally. So that's how easy it is to send and receive files from both the law firm's perspective as well as from your client's perspective. Now, there's a lot of capabilities here that we didn't go through. Things like setting the data retention policy, setting security controls, and at a high level, that's all I want to cover today. And I think that if there's interest from anybody in today's group, it would make sense for us to set up a personalized demonstration to dig into some of those advanced features of how you can set it up and make it work specifically for your firm. But I just wanted to give you a flavor and really focus only on one thing, and that's making the system really, really easy to use and that workflow as seamless as possible and as similar to email as possible without having to handhold the client as they go through the process and without having to involve help desk when the attorney or their assistant wants to send something out that's too big to go through email or too sensitive to go through email, and you want to make sure it's going securely. So we actually are getting close on time. So let me just wrap things up so that we can get into the Q&A. I see there's a lot of questions already in the system. So let me just quickly jump back into the deck just to wrap things up. There's a couple of things I just wanted to tie things in here. And so as we, in closing, there's two slides here. Why law firms are choosing TitanFile. These are the four pieces that we hear time in and time out. Looking for the best-in-class large file transfer capabilities that are available based on the top 10 product checklist. Best-in-class security with our industry, meeting industry standards and exceeding them with our key encryption capabilities through the Hitachi Credion plugin. And a really simplified user experience, and I hope I really drove home that point through the demo. And ultimately, if you make it easy, people will use it. You won't have to spend time on these administrative tasks, and you won't have to manage the solution. So there is savings in time and money there. I'll leave you with one quote before we jump into the Q&A. This is a success story that we put out, and this is a quote from that with one of our national clients, Gowling WLG. And the IT director, Kevin, there says, we really gauge the success of a product by three main things. These are the three things that they look for: reliability, usage, and feedback from users. TitanFile has passed all these metrics with flying colors. So I will consult my moderator for the questions here. So just give me a quick second to go through those. I've put my contact info up on the screen. Feel free to get in touch with any questions, or if you want a more in-depth demo. My email is victor@titanfile.com. My phone number is there with my extension 1-855-315-6012, extension 702. I thank everybody for their attention, and I hope that the webinar today was informative. So let me just quickly jump into the questions, and I will read them out, and we'll provide some answers for everybody. Okay, question number one. Does TitanFile integrate with OpenText eDocs? So that's one of the document management systems that I mentioned earlier. So absolutely, with the Outlook plugin, let me maybe just go back to that slide real quick. This Outlook plugin, as I mentioned, if you already have your document management system hooked up to your email, so it's plugged into Outlook, TitanFile Secure Send button works at the end of that send workflow. So you would compose a new email just like you normally would today, including your recipient, the subject line. You attach all the files you want to attach, regardless of their size or type, normally just like you would. So you'd pull them right out of the DMS into Outlook, compose your message. The only difference with this Outlook plugin is instead of hitting the send button, regular send button on the left-hand side of the screen, you're clicking the secure send button where that orange arrow is on the right-hand side of the screen. That's the only difference. So absolutely, regardless if you're using eDocs, NetDocuments, WorldDocs, iManage, as long as you've already hooked that up into Outlook, the secure send button is going to integrate with all those document management systems very nicely. Okay, here we go. Next question. Just leave that one up on the screen here. Next question. A question about licensing. Do I need a license for each of my clients? So great question. The licensing in TitanFile is very unique. So first and foremost, to answer the question shortly, you do not need a license for anybody outside of your firm. Only employees in your firm need TitanFile licenses. Everybody else, whether it's opposing counsel, third-party experts that you're working with, clients, those are all guest accounts, and they're free and it's unlimited. So you can have as many external licenses as you want. You only need to pay for licenses inside of your firm, employees of your firm. And just to further touch on the licensing point, one of the big differentiators for the TitanFile product is how it's licensed. So for those firms looking at protecting the entire firm, the traditional licensing model is that you purchase a license for each user that you want, and it tends to become really, really expensive when you have to buy a license for every person in your firm. So what we've gone and done is with the site license model, we actually do it based on active users. So you can roll out TitanFile to everybody in the firm, but you only pay for the ones that actually use it in a given month. And so that gives you a lot of flexibility, because now you can eliminate these free Dropbox accounts because you now have a viable, easy alternative, and people don't have to work around the solutions you put in place and use Dropbox or use Google Drive or use Microsoft OneDrive. And as a result, you've provided firm-wide protection, but your licensing model is going to be flexible in that it matches your usage. So it's a very attractive proposition, and it's been very, very popular. So licensing is based on active users if you decide to go with the enterprise site license model. Okay, next questions. This one's actually about functionality, and it's about how many files can I upload at once. So within the TitanFile web application, there's no limits to the number of files you can upload. Interestingly enough, initially when we started this out 7 years ago, the typical use case is that if you need to send a few files, you could send it through email. but if you want to send 10 or 20 files, you need something more robust to send it. And so when you look at a file sharing solution, it's not really just to handle large files, but it's also to handle number of files, because your email limit may be limited based on total size. And so we've seen clients use TitanFile to upload hundreds of thousands of files at once. So yeah, sure, it's going to take a little longer than your traditional uploading a folder structure with 100 files, but I've seen channels, TitanFile channels. If I go back into the demo here, I have seen channels where clients have, you see here in the top right where it says 8 files. I've seen clients that have 100,000 files in one channel. And so that gives you a sense of how robust the system is. Somebody had to get those files in. So they were able to upload that many files, and the system is scalable and optimized to really handle large volume, both in number of files as well as in the size of files. Great question there. And I think last question here. There's one more question I see. Can other people add other people to the channel? So this is a question, I guess, here. As you can see, we've got Mike, John, and Emily inside the channel. So if you want to restrict people, Mike being the employee of the law firm, the legal staff professional. So if Mike wants to be the only one that can add and remove users to this channel, there's an option for that from the options menu. You can simply disable context, can invite and remove. However, if you're working in a friendly environment, in a collaborative environment, where you want to give John or Emily access to be able to manage who's in the channel, simply enable the context can add, invite, remove, and that will take care of that. So as I mentioned, there's lots of flexibility within the options here in the channel, both from a file retention perspective and how the channel is configured. There's lots of options to handle all the various use cases that you can think of in your firm. One common use case that everybody thinks of, okay, my litigation support people have really large files. I need to get a solution to handle the really large files. But really, the needs of litigation support and your folks in IP law that are doing more transactional work, and the folks in insurance law that are dealing with HIPAA compliance, all those use cases are slightly different. And so you need to be able to have the flexibility within the solution to tweak the controls as necessary for the various use cases that you need to handle. And so in the options menu here, you can do that. And all of these can, of course, be set up by an admin as global defaults. So again, we can definitely dig into the options menu a little bit more on a personalized session if you're interested in looking at that a little bit more. Looks like we just got another question here. Great. Does TitanFile have a request a file feature? How do I get files from my clients? Okay, so excellent question. Let me switch back here into the demo. So the question is, how do I get people to send me stuff if I haven't sent them stuff yet? That's really the interpretation here. So, of course, if you're already in TitanFile, the way that you could initiate a conversation with a client is you could create a channel like I did here for the demo, invite them in and send them a message saying, hey, send me some stuff. You can send me some stuff using this application. It'll handle your large files and it'll be secure. So that's one way of doing it, but there's actually an easier way. I didn't actually go through this in the demo because we ran a little bit out of time, but I'm glad it came up in the questions. So we have something called the secure deposit box. And the way the secure deposit box works is that these people here on the left-hand side in this contact list are all members of your law firm. And so each individual person has a unique link. So if you pay attention to the URL, this link is very specific to Alan here at this law firm. And so the idea is that this link can be shared with external parties like your clients. And of course, you can find that link by simply going into options. Under your user profile, you can see there is a secure deposit box link. I can simply copy paste this link and share it with my client either via email and say, hey, upload files to me here. And when the person goes to that link, it's going to bring them to this upload form where they don't have to log in. They don't have to set up an account. They simply identify themselves, include an optional message, and attach as many files as they want. And of course, you can set what file size limit you want. So this firm has set it at to be 10 gigs per file. We have clients that have it set at less and others that have it set at more. So that's a configurable piece. But this tool really gives you the opportunity to make it even easier to just get files from people that you haven't used TitanFile with before. And so, as I mentioned, we have a lot of clients that copy paste this link either into their email signature and say, you know, drop off large files for me here. Sometimes they have it included in their V card on the website, you know, under the contact information where it has, you know, the link to your LinkedIn profile, your email. Some people include that there. And others just share it ad hoc as needed. If a client needs to send something, you can simply copy paste it, send it to them by email, and they can access that deposit box and easily send you stuff. Okay, that looks like that was the end of the questions. That's fantastic. We had some really great questions. Thank you very much for everybody's time. I'll keep my contact information on here. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, please feel free to get in touch. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and thank you again for your time. This officially concludes the webinar.